Hello Wacom family, welcome to the next installment of this tutorial series where we assemble a drawing of a face piece by piece. Hopefully you've been getting lots of tips and tricks to help you design characters or draw portraits and caricatures. Today we are going to talk about the nose. When it comes to drawing the nose, the most difficult aspect is probably the simple fact that it protrudes three-dimensionally from the face. In order to simplify this aspect, let's first reduce the nose to a geometric shape like this pyramid with an elongated top half. This shape will enable us to draw the nose from any angle we want. In order to ensure that the pyramid is properly formed, we start with a cross at the base and draw the height from its center. This will give us all the vertices, including the top. All we have to do is connect them. From here on, the base is gonna be the human head. Let's start with the face front on. First of all, we need that same triangle between the eyes that we learned about in the how to draw an eye tutorial. This triangle marks the area between the eyebrows and the nose bone. Next, we draw the cross of our pyramid. At this point we can already determine how wide our nose is going to be. The average nose is about as wide as the distance between the eyes, so I will keep this width for this nose. The crossbar also defines whether the nose will eventually point upwards or downwards. The higher the crossbar, the more upwards the nose is going to point. Now we turn the pyramid into a nose. The tip of the nose sits at the top of the pyramid. To represent this, we simply draw a circle. If you draw a smaller circle, the nose will end up looking pointier. Sometimes it will actually be a good idea to draw a hexagon or diamond shape instead of a circle for the tip of the nose. But let's stick with a circle for this one. At the bottom two corners of our pyramid, we'll draw in the wings of the nose. And below the tip of the nose, we mark the area between the nostrils using these two more lines. We can now draw the nostrils starting from the lower edge. This is done simply by drawing two narrow inverted U's bent slightly outward. The border between the top and bottom of the nose is an invaluable line. Let's draw the line like a wave following the bottom edge of the nose tip circle. I will call the line nose tip edge wave for now, but it sounds funnier in German, is some of these German endless words. Okay, now let's draw the bridge of the nose. It is not uniformly pronounced on every nose. Sometimes it's enough just to subtly hint at it. Most importantly, you should understand that it is made up of two areas that thicken slightly towards the middle. Last but not least, we can very easily draw in the nose based on our construction. It's up to you to decide which lines you want to emphasize and which ones to play down. I take these sides of the tip of the nose off to soften the transition from tip to wing. On the bridge, let's highlight the nasal bone a bit, while also bringing the edges of the two triangles forward. It is very useful to abstract and reduce, especially with the outlines of the nose. if the face you're drawing is only an inch tall, you probably won't get hung up on the nose bone. So, depending on the image, decide how much detail you want to go into. Sometimes maybe just a few lines are enough to show that there is a nose there. In profile, the nose looks fundamentally different than it does from the front. But we use the same method to construct it. Start again with the triangle between the eyebrows. However, this time the triangle actually becomes a line, since we're seeing it from the side. We position the pyramid behind the triangle line. This way, the indentation here happens at approximately the level of the upper eyelid. For the tip of the nose, this time, let's use a diamond. It's best not to use hard straight lines for the diamond, rather try using slightly outward sweeping strokes. Place the nose wing at the edge of the pyramid just like before. Below the tip of the nose, we make the connecting line almost horizontal. The nostril is quite narrow from this perspective, or even not visible at all. In order to imply the nostril, we need to draw the lower edge of the nose wing. You can start the line at the tip of the nose or at the corner of the pyramid, or also independently like this. For the silhouette of the nose, you will need exactly 7 strokes processing along the ridge of the pyramid. Triangle, nasal bone, lower bridge, nose tip, bottom of the nose tip, septum, and maybe the connection line going to the upper lip. And again, we can add or remove a view of the construction lines as we go. My personal favorite, the nose tip edge wave, and maybe a line hinting at the cheekbone here. Now in the half profile, spatial imagination is a little more challenging. First, the triangle between the eyebrows is distorted a bit to the left. Let's be very conscientious this time and transfer the distance between the eyes again first for the pyramid. This gives us the space to draw in the cross for the base. Now we determine the height of the pyramid from the center and connect the vertices to get our pyramid. For the tip of the nose, let's choose a more advanced shape now. We imagine the hexagon as a curved 3-dimensional object, like a hemisphere or a soup bowl. In this rotated perspective, the angles of the hexagon on the left side will be a little flatter. This doesn't have to be constructed so precisely, but just a touch of the soup bowl will make the nose a tiny bit more organic later. The lines for the nose wing start at the pyramid edge as usual. Let's go for a more sharp-edged nostril here. The bridge and the underside of the nose can also be made more pronounced, depending on how jaunty you want the nose to look like. The tip of our nose actually consists of 2 separate sides. Sometimes this separation of the 2 sides appears in the form of a crease that runs through the middle of the tip of the nose. The transition from the crease at the nasal tip to the bridge is now V-shaped. So we have to replace the upper side of our nose tip hexagon with the V. You see, this is going to be a special nose full of character, just in order to show you some of the possibilities. As one last exception, we let the nose tip edge wave run right through the middle of the nose tip instead of passing underneath it. Add a few more thin lines to support the edges of the bridge and pyramid. And on our nose, the center crease goes up to the nasal bone. Some of the construction lines work quite well in the final line drawing. We can make some of them a little lighter, the ones we don't want to emphasize so much. The twisted curved hexagon of the nose tip is organic enough that it still works in the final drawing. Viewed from below, noses look very different. Here's a formula for drawing noses from below. Just like before, we orientate ourselves with the pyramid form. The tip of the nose is again a circle or hexagon. And from this perspective, the area above the mouth appears just below the nose. Instead of being flat, the dental ridge is more rounded from this perspective. We just need to adapt the flat lower edge of the pyramid to include this roundness. The nose wings become the connecting lines between pyramid corners and the tip of the nose. You can draw them using 2 elegant strokes each. Between the tip of the nose and the dental ridge, we see the lower end of the septum. A little further towards the tip of the nose, the septum becomes thicker. We represent this by drawing some kind of a bump on either side of the septum. The nostrils take the shape of elongated bulbous O's. At the outer side, the nose wing line runs parallel to the nostril. At the top, the line meets the tip of the nose, while at the bottom it overlaps the bump. And it is dark in the nostril, of course. Lastly, let's try the nose from below at an angle. Our upper triangle is going to be longer from this angle and again distorted towards the side. The bottom edge of the pyramid meets this point here at the head-shape guideline, and the central axis goes up to intersect the upper triangle about halfway up. Calculating the width of the nose by using the distance between the eyes like we did before is a bit confusing from these side perspectives. And this because the guidelines are no longer straight, but they run along the curve of the cheek. The peak axis of the pyramid should be orientated in the same direction as the head, but that was the hardest part. Now the pyramid is in place. The curve representing the area between mouth and nose must be adjusted according to the line of sight, so that it flattens and widens on the side facing the viewer. Specifically, we are drawing the upper section of a twisted ellipse here. The hexagon is again a good choice to show the tip of the nose. It's going to be useful in indicating the three-dimensional curvature. Now let's proceed with the formula. The bulges to the left and right of the septum are not equally visible in this perspective. The right one is almost entirely hidden by the septum. We also see less of the right nostril than we do the left. And the bridge of the nose also appears very narrow. The further down we look, the nose itself shortens. The nose tip edge wave now lies precisely along here. Finally, we can add some shading to the nostrils, and maybe some light hatching can diffuse the edges somewhat, as here between the tip of the nose and the septum. I hope I've been able to help you a bit to conquer the fear of the dreaded nose. Maybe the nose will even become your new favorite body part to draw. The nose can be a really entertaining form. It can be a lot of fun, especially when you're designing cartoon characters or drawing caricatures. It's a place you can fully indulge your drawing skills. Just give it a try. See you next time.